Hello and welcome to episode 3 of How to Write a Short Film with me, Anthony Hett, the film coach. In my previous 2 videos, I've been discussing inspiration and how to come up with new interesting story ideas. In this video, I'm going to move on slightly and talk about how to decide which ideas to develop into a script. So hopefully you've started to fill up those blank pages with lots of different story ideas. But now that you have several ideas, how do you choose which idea to prioritize? And I do think that it's important to prioritize one script, especially if you're a first-time filmmaker. That way you can give that script the time and focus that it needs to make it as good as it possibly can be. It's also really important to choose that idea, that script carefully, because the filmmaking process can be a really long one. From original idea through developing and writing lots of different drafts of the script, to the pre-production, the shoot itself, post-production, festivals. It can be a really long process. So you want to make sure that you choose an idea that you can stay interested and invested and excited about for the whole of the process. So what's the best way to choose which of your ideas to focus on and to prioritize above the others? I would recommend that you can ask yourself the following questions to help you to try and decide. The first question that I would ask yourself is, how original is this idea? So is this script, this idea that you've got in front of you, is this like nothing that you've ever heard or seen before? And if so, is that a positive thing? Okay, you want something that's original and people will go, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. This is the film that I've always wanted to see. I want to see more of this. What you don't want them to do is the opposite of, wow, I've never seen anything like this before and there's a reason, I don't want to see it ever again. You know, sometimes in the world of business, you set up a business to try and solve a problem. But sometimes the problem's not really there and there's a gap in the market for a reason, because nobody really needs that problem solving. They're happy with the products and the service that are already on the market. So make sure that you try and find that idea that's really original but it's going to engage with an audience. If you look through your ideas and nothing really stands out as being really original, is there within there an original take on a familiar story? So take a story, maybe Cinderella. So that's a story that has been told many times through books and films and theatre. A lot of people are very familiar with Cinderella. But what if you told that story from a different point of view? Maybe from the point of view of the prince or the stepmom. Maybe you took Cinderella and you put it in an unusual setting. Maybe you brought it into the modern day. Maybe you put it in space. There's lots of things that you can do to try and make a familiar story seem original. So do you have that kind of idea? If you don't, keep looking through your ideas and just ask yourself, what's special, what's different about this idea? Why does this story need to be told? And hopefully that might help you to look through and find that idea you think, yes, this is the one that I'm going to tell. If not, then maybe ask yourself this next question. Ask yourself, what is the message? So look through your scripts and what are your films trying to say, or what are you as a filmmaker trying to say? And I don't think that all short films have to have some sort of social or political message. But I think the films that have a really good message about things that are going on in the audience's life are the ones that connect with the audience and the ones that do really well. So what story do you want to tell? And think about how that's going to connect. So what's happening in the world at the moment? There's lots of discussion around race, around gender, around climate change. Have you got a story that taps into one of those, that gets to what is an already ready-made audience? Now, I'm not saying cynically go and make a film just about race or transgender issues or something that's being talked about in the news and on social media just for the sake of it. I'm saying you need to tell a story that you need to tell, an honest story that you're passionate about. But do you already have that story that will tap it into that audience that is ready there to consume your film? Alternatively, is there a subject that you really want to talk about that maybe isn't being talked about at the moment, but you think needs to be talked about? Maybe do you have an issue yourself that's close to you? Do you have a medical condition, or you know somebody that has a medical condition? Maybe it's something rare and people don't really know about it. It's not widely known. Then maybe that's the story that you want to tell, and maybe you're the one that's going to start that conversation about that topic. So look through your films. Is there one that has a really strong message, and is it a message that you as a filmmaker you want to tell? Next question that you can ask yourself is, do you have the resources to make this film? So you might have this really amazing sci-fi film set in space on a spaceship with, you need costume and makeup and effects. Now that film is going to take a big budget. If you try and make that on a small budget, then it's going to end up looking cheap and it's going to look unprofessional, and it's not going to best represent you as a filmmaker. So if you have this really ambitious film, maybe you would put that to one side for a moment and you make 1, 2, 3, 4, however many short films, and you learn about films, about filmmaking, about writing. You make connections with people, networks, and then later, when you're ready, you make that big ambitious film. For now, it might make sense to make a film that's a bit simpler to make. So when you're writing, be thinking about the filmmaking process. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about the advantages of making a short film with just 2 characters and 1 location. I'm not going to go into that in depth now because I'm going to be talking about that in the next video. But basically, think about what idea can you make with the resources that you have. If you're a new filmmaker, first-time filmmaker, you might not have a lot of money, you might not have a lot of connections in terms of cast and crew and equipment and locations and all those kind of things that you're going to have to put together. So try and go for an idea that might be simpler to make. Alternatively, if you have an ambitious idea, can you adapt that to make it on a smaller scale? Because all film ideas can be adapted to be made on a smaller budget, on a smaller scale. So for an example, let's take Christopher Nolan's Inception. That is a huge budget, high concept sci-fi film. And if you ask anybody what that film is about, they might start telling you that it's about a film about people that go into dreams. They might say that it's a heist film and that it's about people trying to steal people's secrets. It's about what's reality and being stuck somewhere and you don't know if it's reality, a dream, or the real world. But actually, if you go to the heart of that film is really about one man trying to get home to his children. Okay, so it's going to be really difficult on a zero budget or a low budget to make a film that looks like and has the concept of something like Inception. But you can make a film that has the same story as Inception, because you can make a film about one man who's trying to get home to his children. He might be lost, there's obstacles in his way, but that is essentially making a film with the same story. So can you adapt your ambitious idea into a simpler script that's easier to make? But I would only do that if you feel like you're still going to make a really great film. Otherwise, as I said before, just put it aside for one moment, make a few other short films, and then come back to that more ambitious idea when you're ready to do so. So hopefully asking yourself these questions will help you to come to a decision on which film you think it is best to make. A film that you know you can make on the resources that you have, that has a strong message and has some sort of uniqueness or specialness to it that is going to gain attention from an audience and from the filmmaking community. Now, if at this point you're still struggling and you're still not sure which film to choose, then I've got one more piece of advice, and this is a piece of advice that was given to me recently, which I think is a really great piece of advice and is perfect for this situation. Ask yourself, if you could only ever make one film or one more film, which would it be and why? And hopefully that will help you to root out which project, which idea you're really passionate about. And it is important to stay passionate, remember, because as I said before, the filmmaking process from the initial idea through the writing, through the making, through to the end of the festival circuit, that can take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or even longer, and you want to stay interested and excited by that story for the whole of that process, for all of that time, and that can be very difficult. So you want to make sure that you choose that film that you're really passionate about. It might not even be the one that is the strongest idea. If you ask family, friends, or the filmmakers, out of these story ideas, which do you think that I should develop? They might choose one, but it might not be the one that you're really passionate about. Go with the film that you're passionate about, and then you can really put that effort in, and you can sell it to other people and get them to be involved, and you can make that film the best that it can ever be because you're really passionate about it and you really want to work hard and make it really great. So hopefully this video has been of some help for you. If it was helpful, it's helped you to think about how you can decide which scripts to develop and which ones to put on the back burner, then give this video a like. And if you have any thoughts on things that have worked for you in the past or anything that I've said today, put them down in the comments. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, then please do subscribe and you'll get notifications for my upcoming videos. As I mentioned earlier, my next video will be on the topic of the advantages of writing a short film with just 2 characters and 1 location.